In one teaching, the Buddha talks about how some people might wish to go out of suffering, and yet if they don't do the work, they will not reach the aim, because going out of suffering, reaching the aim of the teaching, has nothing to do with wishing to reach the aim or not. It's only about doing the work. And the example he gives for this is a chicken who is sitting on her eggs. Whether or not she is wishing, oh, when will my chickens come out of their eggs? When will I have some baby chickens all for myself? If she's not sitting on her eggs, it's impossible that the chickens will come out, because they will get cold and they will die. And also, even if she's not wishing, whether she's wishing or not, for her chickens to come out of their eggs, if she's sitting on the eggs, warming them properly, taking care of them properly, then the chickens will come out of the eggs. From this example, we can understand the main, most obvious point, which is simply that it doesn't matter whether you wish to be enlightened or not. If you're not developing properly the meditation, if you're not developing mindfulness, sati, if you're not developing concentration, if you're not doing all these things properly, then it cannot happen. But we can learn more as well from this metaphor of the chicken. It's a very good image of how the meditator should behave. We have some chickens at home here for eggs, obviously not for killing. They all have a good old age pension. But each year we hatch new eggs and have new baby chickens. So we can observe the behavior of these chickens. We can watch them as they sit on their eggs. When a chicken decides that she's going to cover her eggs, if she's really serious, then nothing you can do will make her change her mind. They all have different levels of their determination. Some of them, if you just take them out of the nest, will immediately forget about their eggs and they will go off and play with the other hens. Sometimes, let's say you don't always want them to hatch their chickens, so you have to put them in another room, put them in isolation, and then usually they come out of their mood. But it does even happen that they just refuse to change their mind. And then if they are not given some fertile eggs on which to sit, then it's even possible that they would just sit there until they die, because no, I'm not doing anything else. There are also some chickens who are less determined, who will sit on the eggs for, let's say, 2 or even 3 days, and then they will change their minds. They will come off the eggs and then say, oh no, I prefer to hunt for worms. I don't need baby chickens that much. So these are obviously not really the best mothers. Then you have others who will sit on their eggs every day, but only for half the day. Then they will go off and do other things. These are not really the best mothers either, because half a day sitting on the eggs is not enough. So of all of these, it's only the chicken who will be utterly determined and not want to do anything else, the ones who will sit on their eggs 24/7, that will succeed and that will end up having baby chickens at the end. So all of these different types of behavior of a chicken with her eggs is also a metaphor for different ways of meditating or different attitudes to meditation. It's possible to have the aim but not be quite serious enough. It's possible to work but not work in quite the right way, not be like the chicken who is completely determined on her eggs. So like the chickens who sit on the eggs for half the day but then get distracted by something else, or the chicken who sits on the eggs well for 2 days and then gets distracted and does something else. We can have moments when meditation becomes really our only aim, when all our mind is on Dhamma, and we carry it with us always. We're not interested to go off into other subjects. Constantly the mind is searching to come back inside, searching to come back to observe. That any time we are in another subject that we are getting distracted, the mind is uncomfortable and it has to come back to watch itself and keep burning away the impurities from our mind. Like the chicken who, as soon as she leaves her nest to go drink water or to go and eat, she goes and drinks really fast, eats as fast as she can, and then comes back as fast as she can because she's afraid that the eggs will get cold without her there. This is the attitude we need to have in meditation continually. But for many of us, what happens is that though we progress in many ways, though we do have moments when we really see the urgency of practicing and when nothing else seems important, yet still after a little while the energy dissipates and we go off into other subjects, and then it's like, okay, yeah, we still half an eye inside so that we're able to catch ourselves if there is some kilesa that is arising, but we don't have that constant seriousness of the chicken who is sitting on her eggs and will not get off, who runs back to her eggs as soon as possible if ever she has to leave to go drink water. We don't have that seriousness. And the reason why we don't have it is most of the time because we take life for granted. We take it for granted that we have as much time as we need. We assume it's going to take a long time to change ourselves. We assume that we have to go slowly, little by little, and we assume that we have enough time to do this, that we have a whole long life ahead of us. We will live until we are 120, and so there is no sense of urgency. If we were really to realize just how much our life is hanging on a thread, how in fact we really never know how much time we have left, then we would be more serious. Then our hair would be on fire, as the Buddha was saying. You have to practice as if your head was on fire. Means that when your head is on fire, you can't think about anything else but putting out the fire on your head. And there's no time to waste. You don't have time to waste doing other things. So we can see, for example, let's say we're in an airplane and it starts to crash. It's going down and we know that it's going to crash. Then our hair will be on fire. So why not now? Why do we have to wait until an airplane is crashing? If we imagine that we have to die in, let's say, just a few minutes, as if the airplane is crashing, and we can see that our behavior or our attitude towards meditation would be radically different to how it is right now, then we can see just how much we take life for granted and how much this affects the seriousness with which we approach the work of meditation, the need for meditation. Another thing I had noticed one time was when we had the water closed off in our house, and so I had filled up a couple of buckets of water and I was just using this water for cooking and for serving and everything else. And so I really noticed how then, because I had such a limited quantity of water, every drop I used, it was one drop less that I had to use. So I was so careful with every glass of water that I served or every drop that I used. I was doing everything not to waste it. But when you have water just running through the tap and you have as much as you want and you have like an unlimited quantity, then you never are that careful because you always have more. But our lives, we tend to see them more in this way, that as if there is always more moments left, there is always more minutes, more hours left. We don't see that, in fact, our life is as limited as the buckets of water when we have no water running in the house, that each heartbeat is one heartbeat less that we have left. Each breath is one breath less that we have left. And if we have an aim as clear and as set as the aim of dhamma, the aim of becoming sotapanna, the aim of becoming wise, then we have to see that each breath that is not used for this is really wasted. This can help to give us the seriousness to practice, like the chicken who will refuse to do anything but sit on her eggs. This doesn't necessarily mean, by the way, it doesn't mean necessarily just going into a room, shutting the door, not seeing anybody and not doing anything else, because it's not possible physically for everybody to do this. The chicken, when she is sitting on her eggs, represents the mind being totally intent on watching himself, or at least having the majority of attention focused inside on himself, not wanting to go outside. Going outside means that the attention is straying elsewhere, getting distracted by other things, interested in other subjects, that you lose the attention on the mind. So what has to be done is this: just keep observing, not knowing when there will be seeing and knowing, not knowing when we will break through to the Dhamma, but just keep watching whether we see or not. As the chicken, she doesn't know when her eggs will hatch. She can't force them to hatch, but she just keeps sitting and sitting until one day they hatch.